Hello, hello, everyone. Welcome back to some more CCA Season 6. We're coming at you live with a Division 4 matchup, Division 4 Group 3, that is. This is A-State Black out of the Arkansas State University going up against Coyotes Black out of the California State University of San Bernardino. My name is Nikki. I'm here joined by Rose of Battle. How you doing, Rose?
I'm doing great. Just came off of commentating a Ludi set. Now we're throwing it back to school here on CCA, and I'm really excited to be joining you here.
Absolutely, feels great to be back on the mic. I'm in the same boat as you. I was actually also just casting another set. I'm doing back-to-back collegiate sets. Just got off the mic with my good friend Jay Money talking about a PSU Total Party Kill going up against who was it? I already forget. RIT Black Dragonfish, I think. I could be getting the names wrong, but we're not talking about that. We're talking about Division 4 A-State Black and Coyotes Black. Two black teams. I'm just now noticing that. Kind of amusing.
You're right.
In terms of stats, I believe A-State Black is 0-2 in the season, so they're still looking for that first win. Coyotes Black, I think, is 1-1. Let me double check. Yes, Coyotes Black is 1-1. So both teams in kind of precarious spots. If A-State Black loses tonight's match, they will... I'm pretty sure they'll be guaranteed to be out of contention for playoffs. Coyotes Black in a slightly less precarious position, being 1-1. One more loss for them won't be the end of the world, but that will make it a lot harder for them to get in the playoffs. So both teams have a lot at stake right now.
They do, and obviously you want to go in making sure that you feel a little bit more secure winning this game. It's going to be really crucial for A-State Black, but of course would be, a great just ease off of the shoulders of Coyotes Black. But I see chat has already noticed that we are going to be starting on Humpback Rainmaker. What a first map to start on, don't you think?
Oh yeah, for sure, and shoot, the players are jumping right to it, wasting no time at all. I would say this is one of the all-time classics of Rainmaker. You see this one played a lot in comp. Looking at our teams, I believe we have A-State Black on the left, yes, in green, and Coyotes Black in purple. Some fairly conventional picks. A-State Black running a double slosher comp. Makes sense, it is Humpback. This is basically the home turf for any slosher main. Early pop for A-State Black, that's going to give him an early advantage, and looks like they're going to try to push forward and get an early push going.
They are, and of course, we see a slosher on both sides here. Coyotes Black doesn't have that double slosher, but they do have that Luna. And I know the Blasters also can have a really fun time here. And of course, Bow, also a classic on Humpback. And that's going to be a really quick check, but Rainmaker Carrier taken down by that splashdown.
Yeah, for sure. The slosher, they're barely avoiding dying to the Rainmaker pop. Early advantage for A-State Black, and they're not laying up the pressure, trying to take control of that far right location. Looks like they're going to dive the Rainmaker, go for some points. Gonna get shut down quickly by that Nautilus, which is going to be a really strong defensive core for Coyotes Black. Yeah, not going to get any points off of that push. One more thing I want to note about comps, it looks like Coyotes Black is actually running a coolerless comp, and going against A-State Black of that Tri-Slosher Nouveau, it's going to be a bit of an uphill battle for them. It means they won't be able to play nearly as aggressively as their opponent. But regardless, they're going to get a slight advantage here. Rainmaker pushing slowly back in the mid, trying not to get called out by the 52 there. Barely hanging on by a thread, but they're just going to gun it. The 52 still behind them, going to get sandwiched by the wall, taken down, getting a trade. Kind of a confusing play there, but regardless, Coyotes Black has some numbers on the board, and it looks like they're going to try to keep this push going with a Zipcaster.
They are really just trying to stall this here, but I don't know. We might see just things in neutral for a bit. They're just trying to stay alive here, but, like you said, with that Tacticooler out on that Tri-Slosher, they do have that added speed of, the really quick respawns, and of course they can move in and take a lot of space. But interestingly, we don't actually see that weapon a whole lot for Tacticooler very much, because they tend to die.
Yeah, for sure. Tri-Nouveau probably being the most aggressive weapon to have Cooler. I think a lot of teams run it when they want that supportive Cooler for their teammates, but they also want something that's like fast and aggressive, something that can play off its own Cooler very well. And again, it's Humpback. It is a slosher main's best friend. So the Tri-Slosher makes a lot of sense here. Both teams
really does.
Neutral health for a little bit. The Rainmaker's been stuck in that one spot for quite some time now, either team unable to really get it out of there. And if you're A-State Black, you're kind of okay with that. You have a fairly commanding lead. You have a whole checkpoint advantage over your opponent. So just stalling for time is all they really need to do.
Yeah, if you've got that checkpoint advantage, you don't want to make those risky plays. Why, risk going on a full wipeout when you could just stall it here? Getting, a bunch of nice picks with that Rainmaker doesn't look too bad if you're A-State Black here. And they get with that wipeout, they can just start moving in full force.
Yeah, absolutely huge wipeout. Unfortunately, the Rainmakers seem to have hesitated, so they're actually not going to get any points, but A-State Black not letting up the momentum. They've already taken out the Nautilus, slowly but surely getting points, pushing up just a bit by bit, points ticking down. If you're Coyotes Black, you really need to make something happen, but the Slosh is kind of stuck behind. The only one left, if A-State Black pops that as fast as they can, excuse me, I have the teams backwards. It was A-State Black who was one down. Coyotes Black, I mean, it kind of sucks to give up that many points, but there's hope for them yet. They forced A-State out of their spawn. They're looking to retake mid, and then from there, if they can get a push going, I mean, they have a lot of specials online. The Zuka's coming out from the Glugas. Nautilus has a splashdown ready as well. Great for continuation. If they could just get that first checkpoint, secure it, and use splashdown to clear out that location, they could have the makings of a really great push. But of course, they first need to get that first checkpoint.
Oh, yeah, that Nautilus was forced to use that splashdown there, but we've got a minute left. Things look a little bit dire for Coyotes Black, but nothing is over until the buzzer is over, and this is absolutely a map to get a really, really quick lead on, especially now that Coyotes Black has that first checkpoint. Strikes are being popped, and unfortunately 2 go down on Coyotes Black with only 45 seconds left to go.
Yeah, those strikes were absolutely instrumental on the side of A-State Black. I mean, they had to forfeit the checkpoint, but the strikes ensured that Coyotes Black wasn't able to establish a strong hold around the checkpoint. So whatever momentum they had got completely shut down, and then from there, A-State Black was able to just kind of retake that position and pick them off one by one. We see Coyotes Black trying to go for a desperate solo push there, but they're going to get picked off very nicely. Although it is only the stringer on the side of A-State Black holding down the fort. If you're Coyotes Black, you've got maybe one more shot at this. Now's the time to regroup, try to build some specials and get a push going, but the Stringer does have a Whale online, and in Rainmaker, Whale can be absolutely devastating. They need to touch the Rainmaker. It seems like no one's going for it. They're going to get overtime.
Oh, with the Whale!
Picking it up, trying to survive the Whale. It's just the Rainmaker against a full team of enemies. They're going to take one out, but it's not enough. Game 1 in favor of A-State Black.
Yeah, that Whale being popped there. Yeah, at first I was concerned that we weren't even going to go into overtime. I wasn't entirely sure if anybody had actually picked that up. But, oh, yeah, just like not having that area cleared with paint. When that Whale comes out, you're just like, oh, I'm stuck.
Right, I think a lot of people always talk about like GG specials, especially in the context of a tower control when you have things like Booyah Bomb and strikes that can completely force you off tower. But I think a lot of people underestimate just how oppressive Whale can be in Rainmaker. You lock 6 lasers onto the Rainmaker, their location is known, their movement options are limited, and you can see exactly where they're running, as if the glowing light on top of their head wasn't enough. A Rainmaker carry with lasers on them is such an easy target, especially when they're isolated like that. So the Stringer having Whale online, I mean, like, it wasn't an unwinnable situation for Coyotes, but I mean it definitely was gonna be an uphill battle. And A-State Black, I mean, like they used the Whales at the right time, they picked off each member, and they cleaned up the Rainmaker very nicely. So great stuff from A-State Black. If you're Coyotes, of course, that first loss probably stings, but you definitely don't want to let that set the tone for the rest of the match. There's plenty of games to go. Take a deep breath. You guys will be fine. And hopefully that's their mindset they have going into Game 2, which I believe is Clam Blitz on... I just casted these maps. How do I already forget? Oh, no. I'm lost. Yeah, I forget.
I certainly don't remember.
On... Bear with us, ladies and gentlemen. There we go. Clam Blitz on Inkblot. No wonder I forgot about
we
it.
got the map.
Rose, do you have any thoughts on this one? I think it's a pretty bland map mode, if I must say.
I find there to be a lot of skirmishes. I mean, we saw a lot of buckets, of course, on Humpback. I would not be surprised if we saw some reappear on TC Inkblot, or not Inkblot, Clam's Inkblot. They're both very nice with blasters and buckets. But yeah, it's kind of a tough one to play sometimes. Inkblot really is not a huge map. At times it feels almost claustrophobic. And it's really important to hold ground when you can. But I I think as long as both of these teams are careful about when they're timing their pushes to make sure that they're going in with resources, people alive, they've got a player advantage, and then it's the time to start scoring your clams and try to sustain that for as long as you can without giving up too much ground in the process of pushing that clam in.
I completely agree. If I had to describe Inkblot, I almost said TC myself. Inkblot
Right?
Clamblets,
We always see it
really
there.
the stacks are the name of the game here. If you control the stacks, you control mid. And if you control mid, you control the economy. And you really want to make sure you have that economy before you try pushing onto the plat, because otherwise, you're not going to get a lot of points. We see some interesting comp changes, a T-Tech and a Decav, and they're going to end the battle. Maybe we missed a substitution. Not entirely sure, but I'm sure they have a good reason. Give us a bit more time to talk about the map, I suppose. Especially because but like if they have a substitution, we don't know what weapons will be coming out or won't be coming out. But yeah, like stacks really are the name of the game here. I think a lot of mistakes, especially in like less experienced teams, what a lot of them mess up about Clamblets is they think, oh man, like when the enemy's down, you want to like push the basket and like just go. Get those points in as fast as you can. But like Clamblets, it really is an economical game. There's a balancing
The economy.
Exactly. There's a balancing act between wanting to push the basket aggressively and get points, but also taking your time building up that reservoir of clams and then pushing when you have enough clams to actually get a lot of points out of your push. Because obviously, every time you break the basket, you're just giving the enemy team more fuel with that pity clam. So you really want to maximize the amount of points you're getting from every single push. So playing the economy is the meta, and the only way to get control of the economy is if you control mid. So the stacks are hugely important on this map. You mentioned it yourself, sloshers and blasters are pretty powerful here, and it's because they're so damn good at playing those stacks. They use the elevation changes and the corners very nicely. We saw at least one slosher coming back on Ace State Black. Wouldn't be surprised if we see a blaster as well, but we'll have to wait and see.
We could. Yeah, it'll be interesting if Ace State Black keeps that Tri Nouveau in for that cooler, and if nothing changes on the side of Coyotes Black, they were still running coolerless there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, coolerless really seemed to be the big difference between these two teams. I felt like in the Humpback game, Ace State Black was just playing so much more aggressively than Coyotes. Every time Coyotes got the Rainmaker, it felt like the Tri-Slosher, the 52, was getting up in their walls, getting behind them, and just picking off the Rainmaker before they could really do anything. And because they have that cooler, they're allowed to make those kinds of dangerous suicide plays, because if they die, it hardly matters. By going coolerless, that's a luxury that Coyotes is giving up. One other thing I want to mention about Coyotes Black comp, assuming they're still running it, let's see. Yes, that Hydra Splatling, that was the big thing that stuck out to me about their comp when we got a bit of a preview of it. Very slow, very defensive weapon. If the Hydra gets set up on either of the stacks, that could be devastating for Ace State Black. And if you're Ace State Black, that Hydra's definitely the player you want to take out before you try moving up onto the plat. Because otherwise, it's just going to mow down any player that tries to push up.
Absolutely. The weapon with the most range in this group, if this Hydra gets set up in a very advantageous position, it will be hard to get them out. We see the double dualies on Coyotes Black as well. And what I've enjoyed about running coolerless with my own team is like the cooler is really great we see in Rainmaker. In Clamblitz, I think sometimes it can encourage teams, if they're not timing cooler correctly, to just go in and feed and end up just trading out and losing clams a lot of the time. But we already see like Ace State Black moving in with a really strong first push. This Decav still holding the ground here.
Yeah, the Decav is schmoving. Ace State Black not letting up. They have a ton of clams. Coyotes Black is scrambling. They cannot get Ace State Black out of their grill. It looks like the push is slowly fizzling out. Yeah, it's just the bow. Smartly falling back to conserve their special and their clams. Probably the right play. If you're Ace State Black, you are very happy with that push. 70 points in one push. Like, you don't need any more. Like, play it safe, fall back. I agree with that decision. The ball is very much in Coyotes Black court now. That's a lot of points to make up. By no means impossible though, but we can see Ace State Black playing the stacks very nicely, and just look at the map, like that mid is very orange. So Coyotes Black, first step, retake those stacks.
It is, and having that paint down is really, really important. I mean, like any Splatoon mode, but having that paint down also lets you know exactly if you've got stuff painted properly. Oh, I've got clams there, and if you wipe a team, but you guys don't have the clams ready, like you're gonna end up wasting a ton of time that you don't really have the luxury of wasting.
For sure. I want to know, by the way, we kind of saw a bit of what we were talking about concerning the economy of Clam Blitz. In any other mode, Coyotes Black would have had a phenomenal opportunity to push. They had 4 players alive. Ace Day Black only had 1, but because Coyotes didn't have any clams, they weren't able to push the objective. So again, like control mid, control the economy, then go. We see the not the Stamper, that's the wrong one. The Decav again continuing to make some bold plays of it, running in with not a care in the world. Finding one, gonna go down themselves, but again, if you're Ace Day Black with such a commanding lead, you can kind of afford to make those bold plays just to waste time. Because right now, like with such a lead, they don't need to destroy. All they need to do is delay, and by just running at them like that, you're keeping Coyotes Black off the objective. Regardless, looks like they're trying to go for another push. They're gonna get shut down by the Hydra. Hydra's gonna go down. Healer's gonna get the ball in regardless. I'm trying to go for a little bit of a follow-up. Whether or not they're gonna be able to get through this penalty is unknown, but looks like they're gonna fall back. Again, just wasting time for Coyotes Black. Every single second the basket's open, that is 1 second less Coyotes Black has to turn this game around.
Yeah, A-State really can just keep harassing here. That is the luxury when you have such a nice lead. You, of course, don't want to just be like, oh, well, we don't need to score, so we'll just sit back on our laurels and whatnot. But you still want to, make sure you're holding that space and threatening a push. And A-State Black is definitely doing that, and looks like they really want to score more points. But this Hydra is set up and just denying that ramp there.
Yeah, I'm seeing the Hydra make some moves, using its defensive potential. I mean, so long as it's set up, that ramp is just a paper shredder. Any player tries to get up there just gets mowed down. But oh, excuse me, bit of a cough there. I think something we're starting to see, though, actually, is a bit of a fault in Coyotes Black comp, because looking at it, they don't really have a strong, like, aggressive presence. They have the Squelchies, a very supportive midline, the Glugas, which is aggressive, but it's more of an aggressive midline, the Hydra, one of the most defensive weapons in the game, and then an Octobrush, which is like a floaty kind of midline flex role. Compare that to the Tri-Nouveau, the T-Tech, and the Decav, all very aggressive weapons on the side of Ace Day Black, and it's no wonder why we see Ace State just constantly harassing, getting right up in their faces, and not letting this pressure up.
Yeah, it is difficult there. I feel like the brush here really wants to be aggressive. So it can be really hard to do that, though. Just it feels like you're always at a disadvantage, and sometimes like you just get feel like you're playing off pace when the other team is constantly running down at you.
Yeah, and like that brush, like it wants to be aggressive, like you said. But I mean, looking at the rest of their comp, like they're not lacking in paint, but they're not exactly the most paint positive comp. And a brush without paint might as well be dead in the water. You want to be sharking, you want to be using that movement to get behind people and attacking them from unexpected angles. But I mean, we've been seeing this the entire game. That mid was basically orange the entire time, but because of that, the brush really wasn't able to establish much of a presence. So really good showing from Ace Day Black. I mean, by the halfway point of that game, it kind of just felt like they were walking all over them. I'm impressed. Like Ace Day Black, I mean, they might be 0-2 in the season, but I mean, with the way they're playing, it's kind of hard to believe how that could be the case. They're playing very well. Coyotes, they definitely got to make some kind of adjustment to their game plan, because at the moment they're really struggling to keep up, I feel.
It is. It definitely feels like they're being outpaced here, and I wouldn't say they necessarily have to go in on the cooler, but we definitely saw if you want to have that brush there, you want to make sure that you are enabling that brush to do what it does best. And Ace State Black had such a strong paint hold on that last game.
Yeah, like I don't even think like Cooler's cool. I mean, don't get me wrong, Cooler, it's the best special in the game. It'd be great to have, but it's not a necessity. Like I really think what they need is just either like a more paint positive comp or just a more overtly aggressive weapon. Like maybe swap out the Glugas or the Squelchies for Tetras or V-Dualies, and then like I feel like that kind of solves two problems in one. You get a more paint positive weapon and a weapon that plays a much more aggressive role that can potentially keep up with the constant aggression that Ace State's throwing at them. But we'll see if they make any adjustments going into Game 3 on Manta Maria Splat Zones, a personal favorite of mine, which apparently is an unpopular opinion. I thought a lot of people liked this one, Apparently not.
No,
The
it
dual
is
zone maps,
not popular.
which are contentious. Rose, do you have any thoughts on this one?
I really liked this in Splatoon 2. And I don't know, I played Squelchies a lot in Splatoon 2. And I don't know, I really liked it on this map. Again, this was also like CDS in Splatoon 2 with Rain. I liked being that aggressive support. And we do have a Squelchies over on the side of Coyotes, different kit obviously in Splatoon 3. I personally have not felt as good on Manta Zones in Splatoon 3 for whatever reason. I still haven't
Mhm.
quite figured that out. But I think the double zones maps are always, for me, they're annoying to play, but I have so much fun watching them.
Yeah, dual zone maps definitely present a unique challenge. Having to secure both zones simultaneously usually means you have how to describe it, forked approaches. You gotta attack two fronts simultaneously. We see a lot of changes on the side of Coyotes Black Comp.
Yeah,
Bringing out a T-Tech, a Splattershot Pro. In fact, literally every single weapon is different, so they're really getting experimental. I'm especially interested to see how that Wellstring is going to do. That's a weapon that you don't see terribly often, but I mean, like, it's not without merit. It puts a lot of paint on the floor, and like, if it gets set up in a bunker, it could do a lot of damage. But Ace Day Black continuing this aggression, taking out two players right off the bat. They have a special online, control of the zone, and they are moving up very nicely. Their next priority should be to move up into the enemy street in an attempt for a lockout, but we'll see if they can pull that off.
yeah, this Wellstring really gets a nice chip there, and I do like the Wellstring working with the Luna, especially here, if the two of them are able to play together. Sometimes getting set up is the actual problem. Wellstring definitely has a lot less range than something like, I don't know, a Hydra, like we saw in the last game or whatnot. But it looks like Coyotes Black wants to play much more aggressively here. It's just that it feels like they are losing some of these fights, potentially just doing a forked approach in a way that is actually dividing their fighting power.
Here's the lockout Ace State Black was looking for. We see the T-Tech and the Decap moving up very nicely in the street. Gonna fall back to take care of this crab. Beautiful pick there. Ace State Black, like, they are really beginning to run away with this game. If you're Coyotes Black, both these teams having black in their name makes it confusing. If you're Coyotes, now's the time to pop those specials, try to coordinate with them, and try to get a push going. But I mean, like, looking at their specials, they have Hammer, they have Wave Breaker, they have Crab, and they have Strikes. Crab and Strikes are really the only two entry tools they have. Those other two, they're decent, but they're definitely not playmakers. And as we can see, like, those specials having limited effect. Coyotes Black are gonna flip one zone if a cheeky flank there on the side of the Luna, but they're gonna get taken out. Coyotes Black is 2 down, less than 10 points to go. T-Tech's going down. I believe it's only the Pro out there fighting, but unfortunately, there's not much they could do against an entire team of angry opponents, and that is Game 3, decisively in favor of Ace State Black. Beautiful performance from them so far.
That was a really quick game. Blink and you miss it. A-State Black did a great job of holding their space and, most importantly, playing the objective. We saw those strikes coming out from that T-Tech, making sure that if they lost one zone and the Coyotes were pushing the other, to make sure that they didn't lose both. Like, that zone did not flip for a very, very long time. That was a long hold they had to knock out.
Yeah, no, like, I mean, in my opinion, that was textbook. It was like it was bluntly textbook. If you're Ace State Black, like, you were really happy with that win. Like, not just from I'm stealing this terminology from my hometown hero Krakenmare, miss you, buddy. But I'm like, if you're Ace State Black, you're really happy with that win. Not only from a, hey, like, yeah, we won the game perspective, but because you got that win, you played that map mode exactly the way you want to do it. They got the early picks, they took control of the zone, and then they moved up really nicely to take control of the far left, and they got their front lines up into the enemy street. Like, Coyotes, they tried, but when the enemy is in those key locations, they locked them down. Like, that was the textbook way to lock down a team on Manta zones. So, like, really good stuff in May State. Like I said it once before, but like, it's hard to imagine how this team could be 0-2 with the way they've been playing. Like, they are just they're putting on an absolute clinic, frankly.
They are. Like, that last game was one where you wish, like, oh, was my coach watching? Was my coach proud of me? I was taking notes in our last VOD review, and I'm putting all of your tips and advice into effect now. Are you proud of me? Did you see?
Mhm. Yeah, no, like that is the match you rewatch over and over and over again to like give yourself an ego boost and be like, look, like we know what we're doing. Like this is us at our peak. But I mean, like not to dwell on the past. Moving into game 4, match point for A State Black. Coyotes by no means impossible, but they're gonna need the sweep of the century to turn this set around. But anything could happen. We're going into game 4, in my opinion, the biggest wild card of this map list. Hammerhead tower control, a questionable one, very snowball heavy.
It's a
Can't
map
say
mode
I'm
of all
too sold
time.
on it. And I'll be honest, I don't remember the last time I played this one. I think it was probably from before they reworked it, which was a very long
Oh,
time
yeah,
ago.
that was a long time ago. I mean, I think it's a map mode that a lot of us were just like, oh, I could maybe play Splatoon right now. What's in rotation? Oh, TC Hammerhead? Oh, maybe I'll skip.
Exactly.
Maybe I'll sit this one out.
Looking at our comps, we see a Forge Pro coming out for the first time. On the side of A State Black, Booyah Bomb for that GG special makes sense. On the side of Coyotes Black, seeing some familiar stuff, and also a custom range blaster. A personal favorite of mine. Always love to see Kraken weapons coming out. Of course, Kraken's utility in tower control is questionable. A Kraken on tower does get pushed off very easily, but I'm interested to see what they intend to do with it. Looking to be a pretty even game right off the bat. Both teams trading picks left and right. Neither one able to find a clear-cut advantage.
Yeah. I do think, I wouldn't be surprised if things go back and forth just a little bit. A State Black is able to start moving forward. I would not be surprised if we end up seeing Kraken being used potentially just to be aggressive and whatnot. But yeah, definitely not a strong special to be used on the tower. And not a whole lot of points being scored just yet. That blaster just does call in a jump, but is then jumped upon by that decav and the rest of the team from A State Black ready to take them down.
Great cleanup on Coyotes Black. That's a delayed wipe in favor of them. They're going to be able to get this tower rolling very nicely. A bit of an early crab. There really isn't much to aim at with it. And they're going to get taken out by the bomb as well. So really not what you want to see if you're Coyotes Black. I feel like if they would have just held that crab for just a little bit longer, they would have gotten a lot more value out of it. But regardless, Coyotes Black, they're going to take the lead, take the checkpoint, and like this kind of feels like the first lead they've had all set. And like they're not letting up. They got one pick there, another one there. Numbers even, but Coyotes Black definitely has the never mind, there's a Booyah Bomb.
Yep. So I was like, oh, frontlining Hydra moment? Okay. I would be scared on the Hydra's part. I would be like, I'm in danger. As soon as that Booyah Bomb comes out, I was like, oh, I am in danger, actually.
Really dangerous bubble from Healer, the decav there. That's, I mean, common logic would say, oh, put the bubble on tower, right, 3 points, but actually putting a bubble in front of the tower debatably gets you more value because you're still blocking access to the tower. The defending team can't really defend the tower if there's a bubble in front of them, but that bubble is way more durable when it's not on the tower, so you're actually going to get more value out of it. A State Black not going to be able to get the lead, though. Coyotes holding firm. That Hydra doing work. On a straight line of a map like this, something that is just so long-range and puts out so much firepower can be a really big problem. And with A State Black, aside from that Booyah Bomb, their comp is lacking displacement special, so that Hydra can be really hard to move.
Yeah, we do see the whale come out, able to get some picks there. And I know if I was playing that bow, I would definitely be trying whenever possible to aim that whale at the Hydra. Really punish those slower weapons like that Hydra. If they don't move, they're gonna die. And they might just die while trying to move. But lead does swap here to A State Black. But 3 of them go down, and that is gonna be possibly the end of their push. No, the Tri-Slosher getting a pick there, still sort of holding the space here. Pokey trying to take them out. The Tacticooler is coming out. Pokey's not going to be able to punish them just yet.
Not only staying alive, but also getting jumps in for their teammate, which is going to slow down Coyotes Black advancement back in the mid. I mean, A State Black, they were 3 down, but they're already pushing the tower again. And if Coyotes Black are now in a very clear-cut disadvantage, the Whale's going to take out the defensive Hydra. There is nothing stopping A State Black from just holding forward at this point, and that seems to be exactly what the Tri-Slosher wants to do, getting right up in the range blaster's face, getting a trade, Booyah Bomb online as well. They're past that second checkpoint, threatening the third. Now we're really starting to see the snowball of Hammerhead TC take place. Bubble on tower gonna get shredded very fast. Whale, Wavebreaker, it is absolute chaos on the tower right now.
Yeah, and that's gonna end in a wipeout onto A-State Black, giving Coyotes Black free space to move in forward, hopefully as quickly as possible. As you mentioned, this is a very, very linear map, and when they have a Hydra, if they can get that Hydra set up, they could really, really get a push in if they're able to coordinate things really well. But you don't count out A-State Black. They've got a nice lead here, and they've been very, very aggressive so far.
For sure. Coyotes Black gonna go 3 down. It's only the Range Blaster trying to fall back, but kind of stuck in a corner there. Healer, aggressive as always, not giving the Range Blaster any space. Gonna just rush them down very nicely, and is still going berserk up on the enemy plat. I really want to highlight Healer here. Like, the man is just going berserk. Like, dude does not know how to hold back.
Like, oh, yeah, some people like to hold back. I don't know what that means. I'm going to go and be super aggressive. But, like, playing a weapon that, like, you can do that if, you know, your opponent lets you in, doesn't work together to get you out. And it is in overtime. This is do or die for Coyotes Black, but they are going to get taken out. We've got jumps onto the tower. Alex is trying to stay alive with the Julie Squelchers, but not able to take out enough people to stay alive long enough.
A valiant effort. Everyone diving on tower as is typical in overtime tower control situations. And for a split second, it kind of looked like Coyotes had a chance there. But alas, A-State Black, I mean, they've been showing dominance throughout most of this set, and they're going to finish the set of dominance. That is a 4-0 clean sweep victory for A-State, and with that, their first win of the season. So I imagine the energy in their VC is electric right now. So kudos to them. Coyotes Black, I mean, it stings to lose, especially getting swept like that, but there's a lot of good lessons to take away from this set. And by no means will we be done. I'm not sure if we're doing the playoff 7. Did we get confirmation on that? Let's find out. All right, we will know shortly. But I mean, overall, like a pretty good set, especially if you're A-State Black. I simply, like, frankly, I think they played that set about as well as they possibly could have. There's definitely things they could have done better, but there aren't a lot of things. Like they played well. What can I say?
It sure did. And lucky for us, we do get to see more coming up. They are going to play out the rest of the set, make sure everybody gets some more Splatoon practice, and I do wonder if A-State Black is going to keep up this momentum. Really solid 4 games, all in their victory so far. And yeah, like you said, to have a team that went into this week be 0-2 and see such a dominant play from them, I mean, I didn't see the past 2 weeks for them, but I was just like, what happened? They clearly spent time looking things over, thinking about things. What do we do differently? Sometimes it's changing up your weapon comps. Sometimes it's just, oh, maybe we just misunderstood how we're supposed to play this mode on this map. Let's sit down and review together and work out how to play that together, because their coordination was really good, and just great examples to be like, hi coach, look, we learned things. Thanks for teaching us.
Yeah, no, I mean, sometimes it just takes a few weeks for the team dynamic to click. Like, those first couple weeks are a little bit rocky, but then, like, there's some magical moment in week 3 or week 4 where everyone just kind of gets it. And maybe that's what happened to A-State. I mean, you said it yourself, the coordination was as tight as it possibly could have been. The Slosher, the Decav, and the T-Tech especially, like, they were just playing so together this entire time. When one moves up, the other two are shortly behind. One of them falls back, the other two, again, quick to follow. And then that bow, that stringer, just doing a fantastic job holding down the line when the front lines get picked off. But yeah, we're going into the playoff 7, game 5 on Rainmaker Robo Ramen. Of course, these games do not count for any statistical purposes. We're just here for some extra practice, some extra fun, and for A-State to take a bit of a victory lap. But an early pop from, is that Coyotes? It is Coyotes. We see the return of the CRB and also the V-Dualies. Maybe they were listening to me back in Inkblot Clan Blitz. Let's see what they can do with it.
We do indeed. And I think that is the splashdown custom blaster, I believe, on the side of Coyotes Black. Did end up going down there. Ace State Black, fortunately, not going to be able to get their strikes out. Two people are going to go down in that push. May have gotten just a little bit too greedy and a little bit too aggressive when people were going down and just weren't able to all collapse in for that push. So Coyotes Black is going to be able to prevent that quick check on that first check. Pokey going in, and do you know what? I want to ask you, if you played this map mode, do you have a preference between the checkpoints for which one you go to?
So in my experience, and I think this is fairly normal, I think most teams definitely go for that checkpoint on the left that is in the enemy choke. The one down in the death pit, I call it a death pit for a reason. It's a pretty dangerous spot to be. It is a potentially really good flank to send maybe like a brush or a sploosh up while the main push goes left, but I think the left is the way you want to go, especially because if you take that first checkpoint, then you kind of have the height advantage over the defending team, because the terrain slopes down from there, so it's an uphill battle for the defending team, which makes it really easy for the attacking teams, the Rainmaker, to just snowball things out of control and get a lot of points really, really quickly. We see that is what Coyotes really wants to do. They are charging that left checkpoint like there's no tomorrow. Ace State Black, the Tri-Slosher, they're going to get taken out by the Rainmaker pop, not paying attention to where they're going, but they were coolered, so it's not too big a deal. That's the beauty of cooler. Mistakes matter a lot less when you respawn instantly.
Yes, it is true. When you get to respawn in immediately with that special, it can be really, really nice having that cooler. We do have strikes online from this Slosher over on Coyotes. Hydra's going to take out that Rainmaker and the Tri-Slosher, but getting chipped constantly by that whale, and that is potentially, not going to be a quick Rainmaker pop from Ace State Black. It looks like that is going all blue in Coyotes colors. They are all back in.
Yeah, that whale from the Stringer has really been the fly in the Hydra's ointment. Like the Hydra wants to get set up, and the Crab is gonna get the Rainmaker snuck up right under their nose. How unfortunate. A checkpoint in favor of Ace State Black. However, it is worth noting that the first check is not worth a lot of points on this map. That's only 30 points on the board for them. But yeah, those whales just preventing the Hydra from setting up the way they want to. With Hydra being such a slow, immobile, statue-esque weapon, like, whale is such a fantastic counter to it. But regardless, looks like Coyotes has a bit of a push going. They're going to take the checkpoint, down by 1 point because they were the second and second checkpoint. But if Ace State 3 down, Coyotes has a lot of momentum, and now we're seeing the snowball of this map, just running right down that hill, taking it from 70 all the way down to 21 points. Really good lead in favor of Coyotes, and they're not letting this push up. The Rainmaker's still blue, probably gonna get that pop. Dooley's rushing up very aggressively. There's only one left. This Booyah Bomb's slowing them down. Take the Rainmaker, go, go, go. That's a wipeout. That's probably gonna be the game for Coyotes. Beautiful play.
Yes, that is a classic Rainmaker moment where just things snowball so fast. And props to Coyotes Black for seizing the moment. They saw that and they went, oh, okay, no, we got this. Let's go. Run, run, run.
Mm-hmm. Rainmaker, like as you said, it's definitely the mode where anything can happen in the blink of an eye. All it takes is one wipe, and if there's no checkpoint between you and the knockout, it probably is going to be a knockout. So, Coyotes Black, they may be down, but they're most certainly not out. I'm not letting the 4 sweep get to them. They're still trying their absolute hardest, and hey, they gotta win. That's gotta feel good.
Yeah, because even when these aren't going to matter for stats, it still feels good for that morale to be like, oh yeah, we took that game, and what a quick knockout. As soon as we were able to get set up and play to our strengths, we did keep holding that and not only take lead super quickly, but then sustain that push to immediately then go into the knockout.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, that whole last push of Coyotes really showed off what I was talking about, I think, about the strength of going to that left checkpoint. Once you're there, it is quite literally all downhill up until you get to the foot of the final checkpoint, which just makes it so easy to just run that Rainmaker, especially if you have a numbers advantage like they did there. Notably, I think Coyotes did such a fantastic job, better than they had in the previous games, about being aggressive. When they got that advantage, they moved up very nicely, got right up in A-State's face, and, like, it paid dividends. Like, A-State was not able to establish a strong defensive hold, so, like, they just kept killing and killing and killing them until there was no time left to kill them because they knocked out. So, like, Coyotes, like, that is the aggression you guys needed in the previous games, and hopefully they could channel a bit more of that in these last two games. Moving into Game 6, Clam Blitz on Scorch Gorge, a map mode combination as old as time itself. This is one of the all-time classics of Splatoon 3. Any thoughts on it?
You know, I always say that I love this map mode when I win on it, and I hate it when I lose on it. It can be so frustrating to break back into mid.
Can I just say, by the way, kudos to these teams for being just extremely fast to ready up. Like, either they don't care, or I could tell they mapped out what weapons they're playing on a spreadsheet, because, like, they are just readying up at light speed.
Yeah, I love it.
Shows they did their homework. They did a lot of planning. But in terms of comp changes, we see a few interesting things. An E-leader on the side of Coyotes Black, an NZAP on the side of A-State, finally retiring the Tri-Nouveau, and also a Range Blaster, but notably the Vanilla Range Blaster. I mean, as Kraken's biggest fan, I can't help but feel like that's a bit of a misplay, especially on Clam Blitz. But I mean, like, a good start for A-State. I mean, they got a few good picks, although it looks like they're going to play this patiently. They're playing the economy, doing a bit about what we were talking about in the Inflock game. Although, actually, the economy's quite even right now, so we really are stuck in neutral hell, it seems like.
It is. Sometimes, you know, this first minute, just making sure that you have map control is vital. But A-State Black is going to lose a lot of ground here because they lost a lot of players. So Coyotes is now pushing through here. The splashdown coming down from Pokey. Not able to get anybody. Trying to throw in that clam. Manages to get it in. Trying to take people out. But there's just so much chip damage on that blaster.
We see the dualies running in, trying to get as many clams as they can in. A few points, a bit of a follow-up. Definitely a decent push, but of how many clams Coyotes had, I can't help but feel like they were hoping for maybe just a little bit more. Regardless, decent push, numbers on the board, and like they didn't give up too much ground. Like we have the E-leader set up in a pretty decent defensive position. A-State Black looking like they have control of mid, especially with Coyotes going one down. And A-State definitely having control of the economy. Specials online, that's 2 down on the side of Coyotes. The E-leader especially is a pretty heavy loss. There goes another one. I think it's only the dualies now. They're gonna trade one. A-State, though, not having the claim to get a push going. Unfortunate. We see them scrambling. They're gonna get the ball in. Are they gonna get any follow-up? No, the E-leader's gonna shut them out very nicely. And with only one ball in, it's not a great push. I mean, they got numbers on the board, but that's just a free pity for Coyotes for them to retaliate with. So it's going to be interesting to see how they proceed with the rest of this game.
Yeah, it seemed like, you know, A-State Black did have a good shot of a nice push there, but just the execution was a little bit off. And as soon as a couple people went down, we didn't have paint right down there for people to move in and throw that power clam in. And it took a while for somebody to pick it up.
We see him, the T-Tech, really holding on this top mid, trying to paint for strikes. They're gonna, seems like they bungled one of them, hitting the box there. Strike is not gonna displace too many. T-Tech's gonna run in, taking a 1v2, definitely not what you want to see. And that is a wipeout on the side of Coyotes Black. A-State, now is your chance to move. They got a lot of clams aligned, seems like they're trying to consolidate on the ramp. Maybe a bit of miscommunication. It looks like both players are trying to pass clams to each other. And that's going to slow them down enough for Coyotes to regroup and get behind them. A bit of a chaotic push. Cooler's online, trying to get in as best they can, but it's just absolute chaos on all sides. Looks like that push is going to get shut down. I lied. Healer sneaking in, being the madman as always. Going to get that ball in, and with it, they're going to take the lead by 1 point. Maybe a bit of a follow-up? Yes, here it comes. A-State. Here's the aggression they needed. My goodness,
yes.
They are going sicko mode on them.
Yes, this is what you want. You want to be punishing Coyotes Black here for staggering in like this. So you can just take them out one by one. You're able to get all the way down to 31, now down to 28. At this point, A-State Black is trying to score more points, gets down to 22, but really just wants to have a nice solid hold of mid here. Get those jumps in for your teammates. That E-leader's gonna be trying to take a lot of this space here. You just want to make sure that you know what their angles are and just play safe here for the last minute if you are A-State.
That push was very reminiscent of that huge push A-State got on TC Inkblot, I feel like. They broke the basket, and then they just got up right up in Coyotes' face, and just, as you said, they kept picking them off one by one, keeping them in that feed stagger loop so they could just keep the push going and going and going and going. By the time they finally ran out of steam, I mean, Coyotes had to sacrifice, what, like 60 points? So, definitely not what you want to see if you're Coyotes, but conversely, for A-State, you're in a beautiful position, and it looks like they're pushing again. Bit of a penalty to work through, but they got enough clams to get through it, so yeah, we see them trying. That's 2 down. This Blaster has been pretty instrumental in the past 2 games, doing works for their team. A-State not gonna get any points. That's actually just another pity in favor of Coyotes. With that, the 1 ball they already have, a lot of clams on the E-Leader and T-Tech, I say as the T-Tech goes down, but 2 balls online, I mean, they got a lot of potential for a big push here. It's just a matter of can they get these power clams to the basket, and if less than 20 seconds, it's gonna be close.
Yeah, it is going to be a little bit difficult to get in here. They do have a player going down, another teammate able to pick up the clam they left. This Blaster's trying to get in, Pokey able to get 1 pick, spotting a jump, but just not able to provide the jumps into their ball-holding teammates to be able to score onto that basket.
As always, a valiant effort from Coyotes with Black. I always feel like they it seems like they always lock in when like chips on the table. Overtime's ticking down. Like in those do or die moments, that's when it seems like they're at their most daring. But therein lies the problem. It's overtime. By definition, you really don't have a lot of time to burn. So similar to that game on TC Hammerhead, like they're really throwing everything they got at the objective. But by then, it's so late in overtime, it just feels like it's too little too late. Blaster was in position to get jumps in. It would have been a pretty big push, but I mean, like, the jumps didn't even land, much less did they break the basket. So, just needed a little bit more time, I feel like.
Yeah, definitely. And A-State's push there at the end to score, just do 1 last push, not even getting any really, any points because they were not able to get through all of their penalty points. And generally, we're like, oh, that's a risky play that you didn't have to necessarily do. But, maybe it paid off for them because it did end up eating through time that, Coyotes Black had to wait through in order to get in. It just like took them a little bit too long to actually go in and take that space they needed.
Mm-hmm. No, I completely agree. Just because you have the lead, it does not mean there's no reason to push the objective. Because if you're playing the objective, that prevents your opponent from playing the objective. The last thing you want to do when you have a big lead is get complacent. Just try to like, you don't want to get complacent and just hold down the line thinking, oh yeah, we got a lead, we don't need to be aggressive. Because when the enemy sees you stop holding forward, they're gonna say, well shoot, why don't we just hold forward? And like those are the kinds of situations you see where leads get swapped very easily in like the last few seconds of a game. So A-State, they know that like even when they have a lead, like now is not the time to ease up on the aggression. Like they never let up. Anyways, Game 7, our last game of the set on Mahi Zones, a personal favorite of mine, a personal least favorite of a lot of other people.
They're so wrong. Mahi Zones is peak.
It's contentious. One of the smallest map modes in the game, especially for the first 40 points. Flank routes really aren't a thing until the water level drops, but it makes those first 40 seconds very chaotic. Displacement specials like strikes, rain, slider especially can be absolutely deadly here. We do see a splashdown on the side of the Nautilus, hoping that could cause a lot of damage. But it looks to be an early advantage for A-State Black, 2 down on Coyotes. They're going to try to push up very aggressively, maybe, or it looks like they're actually going to like to hold back, wait for the water level to drop, and play this a bit more defensively.
Yeah, they threw those strikes on zone, but with nobody else painting zone, it's just not able to actually cap here. So a little bit of a wasted special there on the strikes. I see what they were probably hoping to do, but just without any other support was not going to end up working out. A-State Black down all the way to 30 now.
Yeah, A-State is really running away with this game. Coyotes probably got one more chance at the zone, but I mean, it kind of seems like they're kind of feed stagger loop yet again. The Nautilus is going to run and pop Splashdown, but similar to the strikes, with no team support, the Splashdown is going to neutralize the zone, but it's not actually going to create any momentum. They're going to get taken out, Splashdown undone instantly, and that is basically the game. Last player super jumping out, they realize their fate is sealed, and that is Game 7 decisively in favor of A-State Black.
What a strong set of games from A-State Black tonight. I'm really impressed. It was like they definitely seemed like they came in prepared.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I could say this. So A-State Black played against Penn State, which is that's the school I used to compete for back when I was eligible for CCA. I did catch their match against PSU's Div 4 team, and I'm gonna say it, if PSU played against this A-State Black, they probably would have lost. Like maybe they just needed a few weeks to lock in, but like this is not the same team I was watching. What, like 2 weeks ago? They have really they've really merged in these past few weeks. And they're looking to have a hopefully they could keep this streak going and have a really strong second half of the season. Keep your fingers crossed, win these next 2 games, and they might be able to eke a playoff spot. And of course,
Yeah.
Coyotes Black. Don't worry, losses will happen. There's still plenty of season left. Some good lessons to take away from this, namely aggression and special coordination, I'd say. VOD review this stuff closely. You guys will be back for next week stronger than ever, I'd say.
Yeah, we've all been there. Sometimes you just have a rough week, and sometimes it's like, oh, we were not locked in this week.
And
Or
by
it's like,
no means, I
oh.
want to stress, whoopsies, dropped something. Pardon that. By no means did the Coyotes make it easy. Like there were some games where you could tell they were fighting their hardest. And that ramen game showed that when the stars aligned and when Coyotes put their chips on the table and got aggressive, when they got dirty like A-State, they were able to not only keep up with A-State, but to beat them at their own game. So the Coyotes, they got the potential. The pieces are there. They're just not quite in the right places, I'd say.
Yeah, I think with some practice and with some review, we'll see a stronger Coyotes Black next time. If you're A-State Black, you are really celebrating this win because if you can keep this up in the weeks to come, like you said, they might eke out a spot in the playoffs, especially if they keep playing like they did tonight.
Yeah, like it's not unheard of for teams to get a playoff spot when they finish 3-2. It's unlikely, but it's not impossible. So like keep your fingers crossed, absolutely crush these next 2 games, and there might be hope for them yet. And I would love to see this version of A-State get a playoffs run, because frankly, they do not look like they belong in Div 4.
Yeah, that just like the speed with which they moved in when they sensed that like, oh, we have advantage now. It's time to go in. And I always wish sometimes that I could like sit in on Teams comms and hear them when I'm on stream, and I'm like, oh man, I kind of wish I knew what they were saying because the way they were moving like made me think that they must have been communicating very well about not just being reactive in what you're talking about, but actually communicating intentions and plans and having that understood with your fellow teammates so that when they see you moving up, they're like, oh, okay, let's go. I sense the tide has swiftly turned in our favor and it's time for us to rush in.
Absolutely. Oh my goodness, I can't talk. Any final thoughts? There we go. On either of these 2 teams? I think we've said it all.
Yeah, I think the final thoughts is that it is a Friday night and we are tired and can't talk.
Absolutely. So, before we sign off, should probably do a little bit of shameless plugging. Rose, where can the lovelies find you?
All the lovelies can head on over to my Twitch channel, Rose of Battle. You can also find me on YouTube. You can find me over on Blue Sky most frequently. This Sunday, my team, Malibu Rising, will be playing in Luti at the default time. So we will be over there at twitch.tv/Rose of Battle. What about you, Nikki? Where can people find you and what are you up to?
Yes, of course. So, I must admit, I don't compete much anymore. I'm in the real world. It kind of sucks, but that's okay. If for whatever reason you like the sound of my dumb voice, yeah, you can find me at my YouTube channel, Aniko Nikki. There's a lot of old Collegiate CCA VODs on there back from my days in CCA. If you like the stuff you see on the CCA Twitch stream, you'll probably like some of the old content I have. Alternatively, yeah, I guess that's really it. Of course, we should also give a big special thanks to our lovely producer DRF. And also we should mention that even though this is the last set of the night, or the last set of this night, we got plenty more sets coming for y'all tomorrow and Sunday. Should be some good matches. Make sure you tune in for those. It will be exciting. But otherwise, I think that's all for us. Any final thoughts?
Yeah, that is indeed all for us. GG's to A-State Black and Coyotes Black. Best of luck with the rest of this season to both of them.
Absolutely. For everyone else, this is us signing off. We'll see you next time. Take it easy.
Night.